So I sent
Hey,
you
all
an
right.
email explaining.
We're back, everybody.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
So Brett's in it for the money.
Right.
Creative genius for the money.
Yep.
I don't know that I'm in it for the money necessarily, but I think
Popularity? Twitter followers?
I think, you know,
Pussy.
I've had
Pussy,
a little.
clearly.
It's clearly all the pussy. I get
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes.
Twitter pussy.
Pussy.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh my god.
No, you know, now that I've had a little taste of getting a game published, this is something I think I would really enjoy doing for the next, 10 or 15 years until I die.
Yes.
Oh, you get?
Years?
Oh my God.
Have you seen me, dude?
Well, yeah,
I'm
but
a
come
big fat
on.
guy. I'm gonna be dead.
Oh, we want to keep you.
Yeah. Work on them. Be around them with us
So,
long.
no, I think as far as like retirement plans goes, because there's a lot of like game designers who are older guys, like Richard Borg and some of those guys. I'm assuming they're in the retirement age.
Yeah.
Mike Fitzgerald,
Wolfgang Kramer.
Wolfgang Kramer. I mean, these guys can
Casey's
you build
been
up
retired
a
for a long
body of
time.
work over the
Yeah,
years.
long
Get a game published every year, every couple of years, and then when you're 65, you retire, and you've got a game design career that you can float on for the next X number of years. You can just keep popping out a game or two.
Right. So you would like.
Publishing.
Yeah.
What's that?
I mean, it
That's
would
what I
take you. You don't make enough money on any given game, do you?
Once you're retired, though, maybe I can retire, when I'm 55 instead
But
of
you
65.
could make more money as a greeter at Walmart than you can make in
But this is
just
much
games,
more
like.
fun than
that.
being
That's
at
true.
Walmart.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And it would.
It's a
me to go
more
to all the-
enjoyable way to make
It would
money.
be a good excuse for me to go to all the cons, and get all that con pussy.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a con. So.
That is not true at all.
You're not missing much.
That you know of, Laura.
Yeah, that's right. How much money do you think, realistically, you think that one could make? How many thousands of dollars a year do you think you can maintain? One could maintain. Do you think you could do you think you could make $10,000 a year?
No.
That would
I
be
think that's
tough.
hard. I think that's tough.
But like once I'm retired, my house is going to be paid off before too long.
Yeah.
My house, it was, Laura works, and
Yeah.
once that house is
Yeah.
well, she's younger than me.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of the plan.
So would that? I mean, if you were making like a couple $1,000s a month, I mean a month, man.
Month.
Yeah, forget that.
I don't even really think now, really.
A couple thousand bucks a year or something like that with game design. It's still, I don't know. It just feels more token than anything else. Like I guess that's you can buy games. What's that?
Yeah. It's something. I mean, it'll support whatever. Like Brett talked about, going to. You can take a trip on $2,000 bucks.
Yeah, I would be happy when my hobby starts to pay for itself. If I'm making enough to pay for my trip to the Gathering and my trip to BGG-Con or whatever,
Hobby that pays for itself.
That's what it is right now and I think for us, it's
That's
sort
what
of
most of my hobbies are.
pays for themselves. Yeah, like blacksmithing and doing all that stuff just ends up paying for itself. So.
I mean, if you get like a decent game that sells out, like Greg's game,
he's gone to bed right now, but I heard he made a lot of money on Hawaii.
All in it.
It was like huge.
He brought his own bedroll to this gathering. It's all money. It's stuffed with cash.
Yep.
No, we're not talking about stripper singles. We're talking about $100 bills.
He paid off Vassal to fake this bad review so he could just get this more.
I can't wait till Tom Vassal throws one of my games.
Oh, that's right. That's when you know you've made it.
Oh, he's still up. We were just joking.
Yep. Yeah, I remember those days. Keeping the rolls of Benjamins. But that stuff it goes faster than you think, boys. Those hundreds of dollars that you make on your games goes faster than you think.
Pretty soon, I'll be a thousandaire.
Yeah.
Bo and I get paid in Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
It's even funnier.
Pay money.
Bo, did you say that all your hobbies already do pay for themselves? What was that comment you made?
A lot of my hobbies do end up paying for themselves. Like
Yeah.
we go reenact stuff like that, and they usually pay for themselves with
Got it.
mental work I do while I'm there. So,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like, well, so how do you guys feel about like James and I were both sort of rolling our eyes at LCR a little bit.
Where the book is it?
We got something for you.
Go grab it, Greg.
Oh, we scoured the earth, and Brett finally found something just for you.
Brett found a present for you. Just for this.
Right.
Can you guess what it is?
It's better, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's better.
Better than LCR?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy, is it Tenzi? Wait.
Electronic handheld LCR.
Oh, you got it. You picked it up. I remember you tweeting about that. That is so great.
How do you turn it on?
How has it dominated your playtesting sessions? Have you just?
We have a tournament going on right now.
Here's the thing: it actually keeps track of your chips for you.
You don't
even have to do anything.
Yeah, I've already
One
won. I've already won like 3 games of it, and I didn't even know that you had it.
300 chips. Oh, that's players.
That's
Okay.
3 chips.
We'll play to 300
But it
chips.
does come with chips.
The best part is this is how you play.
I didn't even know how you play.
Yeah, show them how to play.
Oh yeah.
You shake it, then you let go.
And
Yeah.
then
Oh, I know how to.
oh,
What does that mean?
I don't
but
know.
it's already automatically
goes-
passing
it-
his 2
It
chips to the
counts
player
my
on the
chips
left.
for- and then somebody else, it's James's turn.
Oh,
I'm
man.
on the left. Oh,
So,
and you gave me 2 chips.
And when it's your turn to go, now you
Yeah.
hold the button in
Hold the button.
and you
Oh,
shake
you
it.
do it like that, eh? Like a spray can.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I think I would be really good at this game.
Got a picture of Sandra. And Sandra got me ... C. All right, thanks, Sandra. It's your turn,
all
Chad.
right, all right.
Ready? I'll tell you. Yeah, hold it and shake it.
There you go. But we also get these chips,
But you don't need.
which you don't use in the electronic version.
You don't. Right. It just it tells you.
Are you in chip design? Can't we just make this fast forward so we can play like 1,000 games in like a second? And like just we don't really need it to press.
Yeah. No,
Something that wasn't even a game.
Right.
Like if there was a game in it before, there's definitely not a game in it now.
So Brett bought this
Yeah,
just
mate.
for you, and it was only $40.
Yeah. So no, that's not true. It's the only time they ever use that sign. It's 90 cents.
90
Nice.
cents.
90
I
cents.
got it at the thrift store, man.
Thrift store. It's a bargain.
It's
That
used.
was-
It's
that was-
used.
That was
You taking
90
a turn?
cents worth of fun right there.
I don't even know how to play. I don't even know what
You don't need to know.
Hold
how
it
to
in.
play.
No,
you
yeah,
just-
yeah.
There you go, Greg.
You could have won by not playing,
Yeah.
but you chose to
Yep.
play, so you
I
lost.
got a right center. What does that even mean?
You
That
give
means
chips
I
the
get.
right-
Oh man, I'm getting all
But it
kinds of
does it for you,
chips.
so you don't need to know.
You don't need to know.
But we don't have the right number of players in there.
And you don't get
Oh,
eliminated.
it's all ruined.
It's a little different in electronic. You don't get eliminated if you don't have any chips, because someone might give you chips.
Oh, I thought that's the way the original game was.
Oh
Yeah, I think so.
God!
Yeah,
Oh man!
Yeah, I think
I've been
it's
playing wrong.
Oh man, yeah.
I got to tell my mom to fix that.
Oh, sorry, Mom.
Oh boy, that. So
wait, what were you saying before we
Well-
spooged all over it?
I wanted. Well, I was wondering what. I mean, what's your take on, like, so if one of you had the idea, or one of us had the idea for LCR, if you know, how would the rest of you react? Like, would you sort of encourage somebody not to release such a such a silly game?
Right.
Would you?
we would scoff and shun that person.
Yeah.
But we go for barbecues.
And once they've made $1 million, then we would be like,
Hey, remember when I helped you test
that's
that?
a great game. I love that
I don't
game.
think any one of us would have designed a game like that
Yeah.
we would feel would even do anything remotely as well as that is done.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Was LCR designed or discovered even? I don't know.
It's
It was
hardly a
uncovered.
game.
Uncovered.
Was it? I mean, was it one of those games that was designed or discovered somewhere?
I think it was designed.
I first played it with my mom, who we played with quarters and dice, and I didn't know there was a published LCR.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's one of these evolved
But my mom
things.
makes a lot of her own games.
Maybe
Like
it's
I
an
played.
old
I played.
Comes
I
in the
played.
future.
What's your game that became Blockers?
The Uptown yeah.
Uptown with my mom, and she went home and made her own copy.
I know. I always remember that. That's so great.
Did you
I bet
repeat
you
it?
LCR
No.
started as like an old betting game, like sitting around
Yeah.
the table, dice and coins.
It's kind of a buff game, right?
Well, there is
Yeah.
games like it, but this one actually has absolutely no decisions. Like, what's the one with the pennies? They
Exactly.
put out all the pennies and you.
Yeah.
Remotely?
Remoli. Is there decisions in Remoli?
I don't know that game. What is that game?
Maybe it's
What's
Canadian.
Remoli?
Is it Canadian?
Yeah, it's more.
You get this mat, and you lay it out, and it's got like jacks, queens, kings, or
Card.
something like that. And I think it's that you draw a card, and you have to pay off to that
Yeah,
those
you
locations.
do like
Okay.
a poker hand, I think. And
Yeah.
then you
I think
do
we call
like,
it.
and then you do like the order of cards.
I've never
I
played
think.
Michigan Rummy. I've only heard the name.
It's like a grid.
I've
of
played it before.
playing
It's,
cards.
it's fun, but maybe it
Michigan
wasn't. Maybe it
left.
was just more of a activity.
Michigan.
Activity.
Well, so
So wait,
more generally.
if we that, yes, more generally.
More generally, like all of us have some game, maybe some game that actually does have some decisions in it, but that we kind of roll our eyes at a little bit personally, right? Like we don't need to call any particular games out, but like everybody, we all probably can think of a game like that. And like, do you think that those games are bad for the world in any sense? Like, are those games where if like one of your friends was working on that game, would you be like rolling your eyes at that, or would you be like, oh no, it's it's worth doing anything that somebody out there is going to enjoy?
Right.
It's like because I'm a little, I guess.
Does that enjoyment hinder the greater good?
I don't know. I mean, like.
No, some people are simple. Like some people like religion, and they like to do that kind of stuff. And
That's I mean.
That's good. It's great. You just do it. But some people don't.
That's well, that's the point. Like, okay, so like I roll my eyes at religion, and I'm not convinced that it is a good thing, right?
But some people need it because they don't have anything else. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't. Right. That's the question. Like, so for you, those are sort of analogous, and in both cases, you think like, no, it's all like everybody needs different things.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same, but it's like.
Okay.
If it's the greater good, I mean, I don't know. It's just games. We're just talking about games. So
Yeah. Right.
it's like, but why? I guess it's. I think it's a difference between just consuming your time doing nothing and playing a game.
Right.
If you're playing LCR, you're doing an activity. You're just using your time.
Yeah.
Would you doing that with a group than just sitting around watching TV?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a social.
It is, absolutely.
Maybe
it's
that's
a thing that
maybe
gets,
Wait. I'm going to have to disagree with that. You're saying sitting around with a group playing LCR is worse than watching TV with a group?
Nope,
That's
better.
Better.
That's what I'm saying. Better? And I'm going to have to disagree with that.
Really?
Yes, because you get much more provocative input from television.
Oh, I don't feel.
So
like
I got
that
a
at
lot
all.
more interesting things to discuss from watching television. Several, not all television, of course,
Right.
but a lot of is a lot more worthy in almost any sense I can think of than that.
Than that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but
Now-
LCR is a is a focus to get people around the table.
Right.
It's a game that.
Yes, but you've got so many other foci that you could get people around the table with. Why that one? So my point is putting people around a sofa and having that other focus is a higher quality focus.
No, it isn't.
It is for me.
That's a passive focus. This is an active focus.
It's not, though. It's absolutely not.
Because
you discuss television all the time. You and I discuss TV shows.
Sure, after the show.
Right. What are we going to discuss about that?
You don't have to. That's not the point of that. You're not discussing LCR. You're
discussing
on your
things.
turn.
Exactly.
Right. No, but on your turn, you go. Okay. So anyway, so the other day.
Sure. But that doesn't mean a better focus.
No.
Yeah, sure it does.
No, it doesn't. It's a lower quality form of art than most TV shows.
Absolutely, it is.
All right. That's my point.
But
so if you're going to experience a piece of art together as a group, why not have the higher quality piece of art?
Because that's not about experiencing a piece of art. That's about
sitting around. So get it off the table. You're better. I'm saying you're better off just sitting at the table talking to each other than putting that in front of.
But some people are uncomfortable sitting around the table just talking to each other.
So now that's the kind of question he's asking. So it's got. So you're saying it does have some socially redeeming value.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Well. But
why not at least a slightly better game? Why not Euchre, which you can play on autopilot also?
Right. Yeah, how much do you think there's something actually important in the fact that LCR has no decisions in it? Like, is that actually a useful,
It is.
Like Euchre
has an activity.
Like a totally different thing.
Watching
Right, exactly.
So
once you're experienced, then you basically have no decision.
Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah. So I take a step further. Like so Brett, how do you personally feel about LCR?
Me, I don't play it. I bought this as a joke.
So sure. So how would you feel about designing it? So say the responsibility was in your hands. So you were the one, like if you let it go, you can just let it sit in a drawer and it's not going to happen. Or you can push it and like turn it into a product that people buy. Do you feel good about that, or neutral, or bad about it?
I feel very good about that on my little island.
Right. It helps your retirement plan.
Yeah, it's my retirement plan. I
see that much.
8+.
I don't have as strong a drive for aesthetic perfection as you do.
Right.
I don't know. That's a really tough question.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever designed anything that could become an LCR.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's surprising that something like this would go as far as it has.
Yeah.
Surprising? Maybe, I don't know, because people buy Monopoly too, right? And Monopoly's not a great game.
I think Monopoly is an anomaly. It's because
it's a
of
cultural
its historical
thing,
positioning.
It's got a legacy.
So the other one that I know of that I have played that is like LCR in that it has absolutely no decisions whatsoever is bowling dice.
Okay.
It's a lot of kids' games.
Yeah.
Like,
A little tin with these dice with little bowling pins on it and stuff, and you just roll them and add your score. You don't. There's no re-rolling.
Yeah.
Like, I want to keep nothing. You just roll the dice.
You get 2 rolls because it's 2 balls.
But you don't. There's no reason to like not keep pins or there are no decisions.
No, absolutely not. No.
Nope, no decisions, and that sells well too. I don't know if it sells as well as else.
What about that Boom one that didn't? They have the
the
bomb thing you pass on or something like that.
Pass the bomb.
Pass the bomb. No, that's a word game, but I thought Mayfair came out with.
They had like a little ticking bomb game. I'm not sure what it actually does, but like you pass it around and it blows up in somebody's hands at some point.
It's cocktail, electronic cocktail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's that one game from Steve Jackson, like the Cthulhu dice. You just roll a die and see what happens and pass it around.
So if it was me, I'd be like, I'd be happy for the money, and I would maybe feel guilty.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, or even just the question of like why, if it's an interesting, I'm not going to call it a contradiction, but the perspective that says, oh, there's something like maybe Bo's or Jeff's position is closer to this, of saying, yeah, there's nothing really wrong with it. Some other people might enjoy it. Well, of course, I'm not going to design something like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, why wouldn't you want it? You know, why wouldn't you try, even if you think that there's something?
It's not that I feel like I'm above designing stuff like that. It's just I wouldn't even consider that a game, so I would just keep going. You know, it's like,
yeah, I know what you mean. But even that's doesn't that imply that you think that there's a higher value to the stuff that you're moving toward, right? It's like that. It's like if you had a thing like LCR and you're like, nope, I'm going to keep designing. It feels like that's implicitly saying, yeah, this thing isn't valuable enough the way it is. You know?
Well, maybe it depends on what your goal is in designing. If your goal is to design something you enjoy,
right,
or worthy to be considered a game, then you would probably press on.
Yeah.
On something that matched that definition.
Do we even know who designed LCR? I mean,
yeah, it might like you were saying, you know, it might be an evolved thing.
But I mean, like the people who put the little LCR, there's those little tubes of chips and things that you can get at the game store. Is that even put out by I guess it's technically a game publishing company, but is it?
Yeah.
Is it? You know that thing you treat it as more of a novelty product, you know, than as a game, right? You know, this is LCR is created by an inventor and not a game designer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Shocking Roulette.
It's a thing.
Like a toy inventor,
it's a toy. You know, it's the people. It's like the people who do bracelets and the people who do the you know, whatever. It's just a gimmicky toy.
Yeah.
Somebody invented that people got, you know, it became popular, and lots and lots of people buy it, and lots of people like it, and have fun and make it.
Are having fun.
I have absolutely no problem with people enjoying it. You know what I mean? There's
like an action figure. You can buy an action figure. It's nothing wrong with it. And you can play games with an action figure.
It's not actively ruining anybody's life, I don't think.
No.
Sort of.
No.
In a selfish way it is, because they're not playing a game. Like, I would rather they play a game that I could also enjoy. It just doesn't
that's the thing. There's like this, I don't know the best concept to put on it. It's like the opportunity cost. It's really hard to see the thing that they're missing, like the other things that they could be doing instead of playing that one particular game. And I know it sounds a little.
It does. I have played games with friends who don't want to make decisions in games. They play games for a reason than we do. You know, they want a game that, you know, they draw a card and it tells them what to do, and then they do it, and then it's somebody else's turn. You know, they want to.
But do they play that because that's what they've done before and that's what they know?
They may actually like it. I think
some people want the pressure of a decision. They just want to enjoy it. All that could happen.
You wouldn't call those gamers.
Right. They're not gamers, no.
No, but they have an activity. Give them an activity.
People who play games.
Sure.
And you know, for some people, games are, you know, this is a thing that's out of my hand. It's like gambling. You know, I pull the gamble and it happens. You know.
Well, like I said, you know, let me just bite the bullet and be a moralist. One of the things that maybe bothers me about it's like kind of this thing that you're describing. I feel like, and slot machines are like this as well for me, where one of the things that kind of bothers me is that they exploit certain proclivities in the brain that I think maybe aren't great. And even that feature of people, like the thing that makes people enjoy having no decisions, and feeling like they do have a decision. That's maybe something that's what bothers me about LCR is it makes people feel like they're winning and losing when they're not. And it's like, I would rather a game teach you something about how your brain, like this game encourages you to think badly. essentially. It encourages you to say, oh, I had a pot of money and I lost it. No, you didn't do a damn thing. You just sat there and watched what happened, and we just arbitrarily assigned each player to one of these pots of money, right? And then like what I'm saying is that I think some people feel like they actually are making decisions in LCR somehow, right? The way that people pulling slot machines, they feel like they're involved in this process somehow, but they're not at all. They're involved they're just emptying their pockets, right? So it's like slot machines don't make you smarter. They kind of try to make you dumber in a certain way, like. And like I said, that sounds moralistic, but it's like it's weird when when there's games or activities that they don't, they sort of play on weirdnesses in the human brain rather, but maybe now I'm thinking though, are there other examples that I might like? Say like optical illusions. Like, so say you made a game that revolved around optical illusions. Well, so now you're sort of exploiting this weird thing about the human brain has a weird tendency to be wrong about certain things, right? And so maybe I would be like, oh, that's neat. There's a game that's playing with that. But like optical illusions usually teach you something. Like you usually end up learning about yourself. You go, oh wow, it's so crazy that my brain did this thing, and it's pointing out to me that I'm wrong. Whereas like slot machines don't teach you that at all. Slot machines like encourage you to keep thinking incorrectly about statistics, essentially. I don't know.
So, how would you feel about a game that has decisions that also uses some of those slot machine?
That's what I'm wondering about. Like I mean, 'cause I think this may be this may be part of why people are uncomfortable with all those Facebook games and even like Candy Crush and things like that. It's like
those are designed in the same exact way. So I bought this book a little while ago. It's called Addiction by Design. Machine Gambling in Las Vegas by Natasha Dow Scholl.
Right.
And it's how those casino games are designed to trick your brain and make you think things that you're not supposed to be thinking, or make you think things. And I bought that for research, because I think it would be interesting to design a board game, an addictive board game, maybe, right? Would that be
that actually is addictive in a
in
a positive sense?
Yeah, sure, yeah, like a game with decisions, maybe that what mechanisms are they triggering in the slot machines that make people want to keep playing that game?
Yeah.
And if I could design a board game that has decision making and choices and stuff, but also triggers those things in somebody's brain that says, man, this game, I really want to keep playing this game.
Except possibly you might find out that decision making is the opposite of addictive. I mean, there might be something, right?
But I think a lot of and that's why I like a little bit more randomness in my games. There's a quote. I don't remember who the quote is by. It's by this like 19th century playwright. It's drama is anticipation mingled with uncertainty, or something like that. And I think in order to get a sense of drama in your game, anticipation and uncertainty. So you've got this anticipation about the outcome of this action or the outcome of this decision, and uncertainty as to what that's going to be. And that's I think what goes a long way toward creating drama in a game. And that's why I have a hard time. Not really have a hard time, but don't like the really dry economic Euro games a lot. You know, some of those like Gilhovas, those 3-hour strategy games. You know, I just those don't really interest me as much because there's just not a sense of drama to me.
And then it really depends on who you're playing with too, because you know that is sometimes the uncertainty.
The uncertainty is the other player. Yeah, the other player's actions.
And if they know that they're playing the same game, the same uncertainty, then they can exploit that and make the game more interesting. So sometimes those long 3-hour Euro games can be really interesting if you're playing with people that you know on different levels, and suddenly you're hitting them on this other level. Yeah, I agree that the 3-hour Euro games with someone you're not really interested in playing with anyways is probably not going to be good. But sometimes you get on those other levels where you're playing like a rail game or train game. It's like, you know, you've been playing for 2 hours, and then that one little thing happens. You're like, that's worth that whole 2 hours. That one little thing that built up, that one action, that uncertainty that finally came through because of what they did and what I did. It paid off for those 2 hours. It felt like, it was worth it. But I agree that uncertainty, I think, is needed in some respect to help drive that drama in games. I think you need drama in games, and a lot of it, especially in the abstract games, is just waiting for your turn. What's your opponent going to do? Waiting for it. But that's not enough always to drive people. You need to have some random elements that sort of make things exciting.
It's a big part of the America series for us. It's like that randomness creates the excitement. Without that, it's just boring.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And one thing that helps it is that it's a team game, so you have two sides, and it's cheering. So there's two people joined on one side, two people on the other side. They're cheering and they're jeering back and forth.
Mm-hmm. I think that's part of what those slot machines hit. You know, the casino games, the slot games, they have that sense of anticipation. You pull a handle, anything possible could happen, right? You know, you could win $1 million on that slot machine. Is that the anticipation and uncertainty as to what the outcome is. And that, there's very strong mental triggers there.
Right. Well, that's one of the funny. I mean, you were talking about designing, addictive board games or whatever, but people could argue that they already are. Like Settlers of Catan, is like full of dice rolling and like it is. I have to admit, this is why I play with this. This issue is like a loose tooth for me because. I don't know if I can justify why the games that I like and that I think are really valuable, why they are more valuable than a slot machine. Like it's almost like I'm trying to just design more sophisticated versions of Candy Crush. But like, do I really know that they're better for people than anything else, than LCR or what? I feel like I do. I feel like I believe that, but I don't know how to justify it. Like what do you guys think is important about games? Like maybe I'm looking at it too, moralistically or value based or something. But like, so Jeff, you were describing, playing this game for a couple hours, and like, what do you think is valuable about this for humans? Like when you're, Or do you think that's even the right question to ask? Do we, is it important to feel like these things are valuable that we are creating, or are we just trying to make fun stuff?
I think it's come down to what you really need in life anyways, is experience. You want to have experiences that you can share with people and that you remember, memorable experiences.
Yep.
And I think that's what life is about anyways, going and doing something and having someone there to share it with so you can remember, and it's like, oh, we could talk about it. And these memories that you're forming. So like some of the best games that I've ever played are the ones that I can remember and say, oh yeah, we did that, and you could talk to someone about it. It's like, oh yeah, and then we did this, and then we did that, and it's like, oh, that was great. And even if you lost or you won, it's those dramatic things. So I think a game has to have the best games are the memorable ones. And the memorable ones are because there was something that happened in an experience that was dramatic, that made people log a memory in their brain. And that's a lot to do that, you know, to log a memory in the brain, especially when you play game after game after game. There has to be something special that happens, either interaction between people, or the game just does something very unique that you just sort of spark something. You know, like they always say that you can work with someone, I don't know what the expression is exactly, but work a year with somebody, or you can know them more by playing an hour with them, you know.
Right.
Playing is important because it generates those experiences more than just work or just other activities such as play. I mean, games. That's why I like games, because people do stuff together and they decide, and you can learn about them and have experiences, true experiences with them.
Do you think that those experiences are? I mean, do you feel like you need to like, why are those experiences important? I guess is what, like, is it? Am I too reductionist to always be asking, like, why, you know, why we care about those, or like, do you always, you know, do you need to learn, or is Greg taking off?
Yeah, he's passing out on the floor. He's gonna go.
Yeah. What? Go hit that soft bedroll full of money.
Yeah, thanks, Kory. I will.
That sounds dreamy.
It does. Actually, I don't know that would actually be that comfortable.
Maybe they're crunched up.
It's a bedroll full of toonies, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I dream of that. I mean, what you're saying is, I mean, I think that even all this electronic single-player games, things are lacking, because I don't know if someone can remember a great game of matching that they did, and it's like, oh, that was great. That one game where I was matching those 3 in a row, and I did it right, and then 2 seconds later it was over. But I mean, you don't have anybody to share it with, and it's over. I mean, I think even those single-player games, they're puzzles or activities rather than game experiences that you share with people. Online games, I sometimes feel I'm getting that. I don't know if it's a artificial intelligence on the other side, but I play something like a Hearthstone, and I see someone's name, and I play cards, and I can see them pause and wait, and then play a card, and then and then take it back or do something, and it's really interesting because I can feel their emotion through the sort of I guess the GUI of how they're presenting it, and I get a better experience out of that than just playing against a computer or something like that. Just knowing someone on the other side and seeing these things sort of being dragged to the screen and pulled back, and they're thinking about it.
That's one of the absolute genius parts of the Hearthstone design, is you can tell when somebody's tapping on your guy to pull up the stats on the screen.
Yeah, I think that stuff.
iPads too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that all online strategy games should be doing and will be doing stuff like that more and more. Just as much feedback as you can possibly get about what the other person is thinking or looking at or things like that. It livens up those experiences, I think. I wonder. This might be a switch, kind of a switch in topic, but maybe related. I'm just thinking about like how these experiences tie into our lives or the real world or whatever. James and I have been talking about Diver Down a bunch, and I had the question of, do you, James, and you've all played it, right? Diver Down.
Yeah.
And how much do you guys feel like you are divers when you play that game? So now I'm thinking about themes and things like that, and like, how abstract do you think that game is versus does it actually give you a feeling that you're adventuring or diving or discovering things?
It feels more abstract for me. I don't feel like I'm doing that much.
James?
So, yeah.
What? I'm waiting for other people's answers.
Okay. Jeff?
I've never I've never dived to find sunken treasure, so I'm not really sure what that feels like.
Ah, come on, you can imagine. I mean, I never did most of the things that Indiana Jones did in Raiders, but I get a pretty strong adventure-y feel.
I think. What do I think about that?
Well, compare it to other. Yeah.
I'll answer. Because I played it through a number of different different missions where there was a lot more flavor of the diving and stuff coming in. The latest version, I think, is very clean, but I don't like it as much.
Okay, you liked the older stuff.
The shore, and I had a boat, and I guess depth, and little things like that that sort of, maybe not all of it, but it felt more diving then. I think in its current state, you could be mining space, you could be doing a lot of things, but suddenly if you got a blue tape and it's you hear the waves in the background.
Like what games are very thematic? Like what other games are more thematic, and what does it take for a board game? What causes games to feel thematic, and is that important? Like, what does that do for us?
Well, I think I think of it on scale, especially a lot of these games. Are we a person, or like maybe I remember James talking about this years ago? Scale. Are we a personal level? Are we a squad level? Are we looking at a whole system? One recent game that I thought was most thematic, even though it's not unrealistic, is like Rampage, because you're going out and destroying things, and it's knocking things down, and because everything you do is what the monster would do, and you say, okay, what would a monster do in this scenario? Well, I think he would do this, and you get to do that. You get to blow it down, or throw things, or flick things, and I think that's sort of thematic. But a lot of these games, these Euro games that they say are thematic, I think they're not really thematic. They're more, for me is something I can play from the gut. You can say, what would I do if I was a train driver, or or something like this? And if it's something abstract, there's some sort of mechanics pasted on. It's not, for me, it doesn't match. It's got to be a gut feeling to be thematic. But a gut feeling should give you a good ending score, anyways. Maybe not win the game, but
like, is Settlers a thematic game or not?
I think so.
I think
on some level,
Seafarers.
If you strip off all the graphics and everything, you can still kind of figure out what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. I wonder if the ping system in Diver Down. I wonder if people would feel that it was a game about diving. I wonder if the ping system mechanics are strong.
Diving Down, if you strip, you'd have any idea what the theme was. I think it could be. Well, it could be several.
It's almost like, what's that Windows game?
Well, I'm thinking specifically the way those pings work. Right? You've got these components that are numbered 1, 2, or 3. So they're these distance kind of markers, and you need 2 of them at least to pinpoint a spot. So I wonder if that's suggestive enough.
I don't think so.
No?
I would think of more Minesweeper. How do you find things? Metal detecting.
When you're diving, you're not using sonar.
Not when you're actual
diving.
I think maybe you do.
Really? In normal, like, day-to-day diving?
Not normal day-to-day diving. No. The inspiration from this was a video game called Everblue 2, and that's how you found stuff.
It's more like submarine searching.
Right.
You're clearly finding stuff.
Yeah.
And you're clearly finding things that get bigger, like you find more of it, you kind of the structure. So yeah, I think you wouldn't necessarily be diving. To me, the other theme
Fossil
that I
finding.
considered was fossil finding. Finding dinosaur fossils.
I've actually thought about that.
Do you actually, yeah, like does the ping system, like, do you actually use sonar? Like, would you have to retheme those pings, or do you actually use sonar for finding bones?
You actually do use sonar in archaeology,
Okay,
but
yeah.
it doesn't work that way. There is no triangulation in actual sonar.
Yeah,
Well, you can.
right.
You can, but it's just echo, right?
Yeah, you're right.
It gives you how far away is
Yeah.
whatever the direction that you just did.
Yep.
So
How do you, is this kind of thing important? Like, or is it just, I mean, or important to you guys at least? As opposed to just, pretty abstract mechanics.
So, I don't know. Can I say something about abstract and theme?
of course.
Sure. I don't see those as opposite ends of the same spectrum.
Okay.
For me, it's abstraction and simulation. The theme is another thing entirely. So it's basically the degree of abstraction or the degree of simulation in the game.
Okay.
So Diver Down feels to me more on the simulation end of the scale.
More on the simulation end of the scale. Really?
More simulation than abstraction.
Oh.
It's positive. It's about 50% to me. And that the
somewhere
pings
in the
are
middle.
Yeah,
somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
The pings are pretty evocative to me of that kind of diving and waters, kind of stuff. Of course, that's because the theme tells me,
Yeah, exactly.
Pings, but I mean, it had more simulation early on when there was a map and you had to swim around and have boats and stuff like that. So there was more simulation to convey the theme better. But
okay, but then you
guys. How important is it to you?
How important is it?
Oh, wait.
Well,
that's abstraction versus
simulation.
Simulation, but then what does theme mean? It's this other thing you said, like just.
Oh, I mean, theme, like what we call a theme is really like setting.
Setting, yeah.
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 But real theme, I think, should tell you how to play the game. Should tell you what you should do to get a decent score. I mean.
What I like to do in designing a game is pick a good theme and then like figure out as many rules as I can that sort of lend itself to that theme and build them right into that game so that when you're playing the game with that theme, that it all makes sense. It's like you're doing things that you feel like you're supposed to do, and the things that you shouldn't be doing for that theme are not in the rules, or they're like things that you're not allowed to do.
So like when Mark and I were designing Nanook way back when. Our theme in Nanook was building consensus. We wanted to make a game about building consensus, and that was the theme of the game. And the setting was originally Vikings, and then it became, Inuit hunters in the Arctic. But the theme has always been about building consensus, and the mechanics of the game support that theme. In that, I'm going to be the leader of the hunt. And I think we can find 6 deer or whatever, and who's with me? And everybody's like, I'm with you, I'm not with you, I'm out of this, you're crazy. And so the theme of the game was building consensus, and the setting happened to end up being in an Arctic setting.
Yeah, the setting is variable, but
it used to be Vikings. It was inspired originally by like in the Lord of the Rings, the Council of Elrond setting. You'll have my sword and you'll have my axe. That was building consensus, right? In the Fellowship, that's what they did, and that's the kind of game that we wanted to make at that time. And
right, yeah, I mean that's kind of an interesting take on theme though, because that's a kind of mechanics-oriented style of theme that you're talking about. Like I would be more inclined to say that the theme. Well, this is all about how we want to use words, but the theme is more like the setting. Because it's almost maybe you're even using theme in sort of a literary sense, like what's the theme of a novel? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, the theme of this game is building consensus, which might be like the theme of a novel or something like that, or but yeah, it feels like that kind of a theme is very reachable because it's like when you're sitting around playing the game, and it's not like we're saying, oh, we're simulating building consensus right now. No, you actually are building consensus. It's about a bunch of little pieces of cardboard, but you actually are, it's like if your theme is some kind of cooperation, like you genuinely do, that's a very mechanic-y sort of theme, because that's something you actually do during a game.
Yeah.
Like Jules is kind of like, or I don't know. I mean, those tend to be the kind of, the ways that I tend to think, and not nearly as focused on like more of the stuff that Jeff is talking about, like this sort of Jeff and Bo both, like this is a thing. You're starting with a thing that ties to the real world, and like it should give you intuitions about what kinds of things you want to do, or what and what kind of rules should be in that game.
What about you, Kory? You mostly do abstract games. Where do you get your inspiration?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Have I done? This is why I'm asking this, is because I would rather do. I want to do more thematic games. Is there any thematic game that I've even made? I think about themes a lot more when it comes to video games. When I think about video game design and things like, they suddenly just seem more meaningful to me, and more interesting. I mean, so with the games that I have done, like Blockers is a great, it just came from a mechanic. It's totally mechanics based. It's like, oh, here's an idea, a game where there are tiles that tell you where they can be played, like rows or columns or regions, and then, oh, what's it like to try to build groups when you're restricted in that way? And boom, there's all these interesting stuff, emergent effects that happen when you do that. And yeah, Blockers. This is why I was asking about Diver Down. Like Diver Down, it totally, even though the rules are about as simple, maybe a tiny bit more complex. No, they're about as simple, but it feels more thematic. Like Blockers just doesn't feel like anything. It really does. It doesn't feel like you're building a city to me. I guess it feels like you're building something. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know.
It might come from its origin. Like your game was never originally had a theme at all, or James is sort of, at one time it was more on a theme, and then he simplified it, so it still has that lingering feel on there.
Right. Yeah.
Jeff Pete is still on.
I mean, like,
with my game. Well, so yeah, if you ask what are those games about, right? And Diver Down is about finding things.
Yeah.
And it's about, managing your risk.
Yeah.
Right? It's about those things. Now, what if we ask the same question about Blockers? What is it about? It's about creating a group, right?
Yep.
But you've just said something less human in a way, or something. I mean, it wouldn't have to be, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's about building things. That's very human, right?
Yeah.
But somehow it still doesn't feel
connecting things, I guess.
Yeah. But it's connecting.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the thing that you do, the activity that it is about, that it is fundamentally about, is it's more abstract, right? As a concept, even.
I'm always wondering too that, like, between the two, one is sort of hex based and one is grid based. Like and I always find that any games that are hex based seem to have more. They're sometimes harder to put hex down and things like that. But feel more natural somehow. I don't know, maybe because it's closer to a circle or something, where grid games like chess and stuff like this feel more abstract.
Yeah. Right.
They various, they seem to come down. I mean, you're doing a different thing to find the land, but you're connecting things. But the tiles go certain places. But it's, if you look at the games, if Blockers was a hex game, or Diver Down was a grid game, they would look the same, I would think, similar. Like if you just looked at two complete games being played, you wouldn't see much. And then
but I believe
why hex feel more natural or more.
It's the bees.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's the 60 degrees.
Brett says it's the bees.
The bees.
So
The bees.
hexagons are a naturally occurring shape, but they also the shapes that they make when they're put into groups are more natural looking. I don't know if they're actually more, but they're more natural-ish maybe.
Yeah.
Like humans love making right angles, right? So nature doesn't love making right angles.
Right.
Some geology,
Did you ever do a hex-based Blockers version? I know you tried a bunch of different things.
We talked about it, but it just never seemed like it was even worth trying because the grid is just such a good fit for the idea. It's just the lines are so clean.
Yeah.
But I actually think I totally agree with you about the feel of hexes versus square grids. But I think there's something else going on there. I don't think that this would. I think there's something about the play of Diver Down. There's something about the system itself that makes it feel more thematic.
Well, look at Castellan. It's basically an abstract game, but right from the beginning, it was a castle building game. So even if you take off all the theme, it still feels like building buildings. It's like you're building something.
Yep. Right. So I think it probably is, like you said, it's a question of where you start with, like, because that Blockers in particular really started from like I keep a log. I used to keep a log of game mechanics, and that's all that started it. Zendo has Brett's kind of theme as well, right? Like the theme of Zendo is figuring something out with inductive reasoning, right? And that seems stronger to me as a core, right? I think, and in a way, but I don't know if I would call that more thematic. Like Zendo is clearly a very abstract game. But does that just mean that solving things through induction is a more human, like something that ties more into what we do as people in day-to-day life? Because we actually do use inductive logic every day. We don't realize that's what we're doing. And maybe
because of that, I think you do put a theme on Zendo that helps, and it's the whole idea of solving it. It's almost like the scientific method, or like we're solving a problem, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So if someone comes over to the table and we're playing the game, and they ask you, "What are you guys doing?" Like, "What are you doing?" Well, we're trying to solve the problem. He put a problem, and that is really the theme. We're trying to solve the puzzle.
Right, but that is really the mechanics as well, right? That's a very mechanics point of view to talk about theme. Like technically, the theme of Zendo is that you're in a Zen monastery, you're in a Zendo somewhere, and that theme kind of doesn't make any sense at all. A lot of people have argued,
But I think it's both in this case. But it's
you're right.
They want to solve problems. They watch Columbo not to see how the murder was done, but how did he solve it? It's a good thing. It's like we know how the murder happened. It happens in the first 5 minutes, but then Columbo is awesome because it's the whole thing. You know how the murder happened. It's just how does he solve the murder?
Yeah, Columbo is.
I mean, it's a very unique way. It's almost like Zendo, where it's like we know the solution. It's right there in front of us.
Yeah.
But how do you get to it? How do you prove
Diver
it?
down also inductive logic.
You should retheme Zendo as a murder mystery game.
Columbo, Mrs. Columbo, son of Columbo.
So, turn is like you can set up a crime scene. This crime scene meet the rule.
Dead prostitute with footprints.
So
right.
I think he did it this way.
Yeah, that's right. Nope.
But he might have done it this way.
It would work. Maybe.
Yeah.
Guys, next week we'll come back and have that done, please.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I wonder if it's a hindrance for me to even analyze these kinds of things. I don't know if it helps me design. What do you guys think are the most important things to think about? I mean, are these questions just distractions?
No, I mean,
The first thing I pick is the theme.
Yeah, you see, you're very theme oriented.
Yeah. It's like I want to make a game about this, and then I build off of that. Try and find a mechanic that works, and then build in all the rules. So that's where I start most of the time.
Yeah.
Brainstorm a number of verbs that have to do with that theme. Like, and then nouns related all together.
When you say about this, do you mean so do you mean something different than this sort of mechanic-y theme? Like, Zendo, I was saying, I want to make a game about this. I want to make a game about solving an inductive puzzle, right? But that's really not a theme. Like, so do you mean a more real-world, like, activity or event, or like more like I want to make a theme about diving, searching for treasure and animals diving, or I want to make a theme about building a railroad or whatever,
That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, that's more what I mean. I would pick. I want a theme about pirates pillaging.
Yeah.
And then I would start from that and say, okay, what do they do? And then what are all the aspects I want to bring into this? Like, I don't do abstract games very much. Like you come from the almost the opposite end of the spectrum here, where you start with mechanic and then build onto it. Where I go the other direction, I start with the theme and the idea, and what do I want to do, and then figure out the mechanics and stuff that work with that theme.
Yep. Right.
It's like a different direction of game design.
Yeah. And is that what drives those choices? Do you think? Like, I'm always going back to, like, why do we design games? Why do we do this? Why do like? But this is it mostly just, is it preference? Is it like this is so you want games to give you a certain feeling when you play them?
What I'm interested in, and my preference is like a game about this. I want to be able to play this scenario out, or I want to relive this aspect, or I don't know.
Well, one thing that I think all three of us really want to make is a game about brewing beer, because I think we all like brewing beer and stuff, but we love the history of it too. And it's like, and there's a few games out there about it, but we're just like, we always talk about it. We're like, we got to make a game, maybe in Germany or something, when they decided to, all these little towns had their own breweries. And it's like, okay, we'll make a game of that, but we have the theme, and there's a lot of mechanics that can mechanisms to be put onto those. But how do we do it uniquely that it can't be just turned into a postal service game or something? We want to make sure that it is indeed a brewing game that can't just suddenly be translated. I don't know why we want it so much. We don't want to. We want to make sure it's themed, so it has to be that game. I think, right? Would you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
But we don't want to make it so then suddenly it can be turned into a Wizards game.
Right.
Well, I have a Wizards game that can be turned
I
into
know.
a
That's That's why
It's
I brought
out
it
there,
up.
right?
Yeah, it would be a perfect fit for it. You can change a couple things.
Well, then you're done. What's the problem? You've already finished.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not sure why it's not done, because
We haven't had time. We've had this other series.
All the successful stuff is in the way.
Yeah.
Stuff. It's eating up all my time.
It's such a drag.
But
your money, man.
I think
That's
also why is not just translating a game into a brewing game the answer? I think there's got to be something.
Fit.
There's got to be something a little bit more, and I don't know why that is. Maybe this is more of a Kory question. It's like, why do I need to have it not be rethemable into something else? Does it have to be? It has to be thematic enough.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
Because there's a number of brewing games out there, and they tend to be recipe games. You know, like you need X number of this kind of malt and X number of this kind of malt and these kind of hops and this kind of whatever, and then it makes a beer. And I don't really want to do a recipe game.
Yeah.
I think.
So
Yeah.
it's like there's some kind of feeling that you get. It's like you're trying to capture something about brewing that hasn't been captured yet in some game, or that isn't so generic. It's like, it's like there's a certain maybe, for instance, a certain kind of decision that you need to make as a brewer. That's not just isn't just some general thing. It's some specific thing about that domain, and those are the interesting things. Because if it's some general thing, then lots of games will do that. Like it's just some risk versus reward thing or something. But maybe that's So it's interesting when a game you could theme strip it. Yeah, if you can theme strip it and then somebody else looks at it and says, I think this is a game about brewing, that's pretty strong thematically. See, this is one of the reasons I think why I have always preferred the other route is that it is more direct. Like, I always feel like on the thematic level there is sort of this make-believe thing, or there's this gap that happens there between the mechanics and the theme. Whereas, like, if I'm starting and I'm saying, well, like with Zendo, and I'm saying I want, or like with Brett was saying, a game that's about building consensus or something, or Zendo, I want to make a game that is about solving a problem. It gives you the feeling of solving a problem with induction. I know that I can get 100% of the way there. Like, people playing Zendo, they aren't just pretending to solve a problem through induction. They actually are genuinely solving a problem using induction, right? Whereas, like, I feel like on some level people are always going to be pretending that they're brewers when they're playing this brewing game. You know what I mean? And there's that gap bothers me somehow. Or like it's not as strong for me. Like I have a blind spot almost, or like I immediately see through the theme to the abstraction. I see all the rules. It's like I see the struts and the canvas and the duct tape, on top of the thing.
Do you see those games as just practice for something better? Like, I can see, like, if you a perfect simulation of brewing, why don't we just brew? And now we're doing solving problems. And why aren't I solving problems that actually matter rather than this? So is it just you think is it good just practice to get your brain working, or I mean, can we make a game that actually solves problems, real world problems, at the same time we're having fun? And like I think some of these online games are like this, where you're doing DNA things and
right. Yeah, I mean, but it isn't so much that I need a game to be like educational or something like that, or have application to the real world. It's just that gap between pretending, kind of making believe, and actually doing a thing, like. But I really am genuinely saying I feel like it's a blind spot that I have, like, which is weird. Like, I think of myself as a pretty imaginative person, But yet I see people having fun with board games sometimes in a way that I don't, and seem to be incapable of having fun with them, because I somehow don't imagine, like, I don't feel these themes as strongly as it seems like some other people feel them. Like,
you poor broken boy.
yeah, but I do feel it. I mean, like, even in games like Settlers and Diver Down, even I do feel some of it, and when I feel it, I like it. You know, like, I like the feeling of Diver Down more than the feeling of Blockers. I also like Blockers. I also like the abstract stuff.
Right. So, but if you're interested in trying to make something like that, you were saying that earlier, weeks ago, like you gave this kind of recipe or instruction manual. If you want to make games that are like Blockers or Zendo, follow these instructions, right? And you wrote an article about that.
Right.
Well, these guys just gave you an instruction manual.
Yeah, and it's bullshit, and I refuse to listen.
Well, that's my question. Why can't you follow that? Why can't you follow that instruction manual just as you're wondering about other people following your?
I think that's totally sensible, and the problem that I have is that, and I was like, as Bo was saying it, I was thinking this. I was thinking, like, yeah, and then you get like 5 of these rules in that game that just drive me fucking nuts. They're there because of the theme, and
sure, but start that way.
Right.
Just whittle away until you get something that you're satisfied.
I think that's totally it. I think that's totally.
Diver Down, and that took a lot of whittling to get down to that point.
Yeah,
it has that last feet on.
It's right.
It's a new term we're going to use for
Jeff's taint.
No, I think that's exactly right. And then
I got distracted by Jeff's taint.
Yeah, and I guess.
Got one photo of Sandra fully clothed and one photo of Jeff's taint.
You know, Jeff spent some time on my farm a little while ago, and I woke up one morning and there was a spider web that said "some taint."
I don't even know what that means.
Goodbye. That's like that brings a tear to my eye for reals. When at the end of that movie, when all the little baby spiders are like, goodbye, and then like 3 of them stay because they're too small, they can't fly on their little trees.
So to bring it back to part of your question, maybe earlier, when you design games, for the money. For the money.
Yeah.
Money is the pussy, and more money, more problems.
And pussy money. That's what you're going to spend your money on anyway, right? Hooers. Game and hooers.
Oh, good.
This is why you're not going to last for more than 15 years, like you said.
The pawn. I got a little vibrating pawn butt plug.
Vibrating pawn. Yeah.
No. So the
Spiel des Jahres. I want to win one. It vibrates.
That's next on my list. First was get it published. Second was get an invite to the gathering. Third, Spiel des Jahres.
Yep.
That's my list.
Wow, that's big.
I feel like if I ever won the Spiel des Jahres, again, I would be like happy. That's great. But I would feel like I somehow failed. Like I designed something that became popular in Europe or something. Like what? I did something wrong. I did something unintentional at least. But I'd still be like sweet. I'd be like, I'm not going to turn it down or anything. But I don't know.
It's a long-term goal. It's a long-term goal.
You can do it. You can do it.
I can do it.
You can do it.
So here's why I design games is because it's playing Zendo, right?
The design process.
Yeah. You've got a problem to solve. You say, hey, I want to make a game about this, or I want to make a game that has this mechanic. I want a game that's got this mechanic in it.
With a big engine, It's
got a big engine. I don't know. So like, I want to make a game about consensus. So let's figure out how to do. So the game design process for me is playing Zendo. It's like do these things work? No, those things don't work. Do these things work?
Yeah.
No, those things don't work. Add this in, that doesn't work. Let's take it out. Let's see, and I'm trying. I'm adding and taking away, and I'm adding and taking away until I find the game that matches my vision for what I want to happen.
Yeah, I mean that whole process is very compelling, right?
Yeah.
Torturous. What do you mean by compelling?
Yeah.
It's beautiful process, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah. For James, it's torturous.
It is.
But it is interesting. I mean, but so Brett and I, at that level, it sounds like we're both talking about like this more mechanical kind of theme. Like, maybe it's more torturous, going from the theme side. Like, I think some of the things.
I've done it from every direction. I've designed.
Every direction.
Fimblevetter started from the mechanic.
Okay.
And I've done stuff from starting with the setting, that type of theme.
Mm-hmm.
I've started with I want a game about X, right? About treasure finding or whatever.
Yeah.
I've done it from all directions. Torturous every direction.
Okay.
But it's good torture, right? It's like, nipple torture.
Yeah, keep corkscrewing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like one pants are shrinking.
Do you make the pants feel funny?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's I've done the mechanical route already a number of times, and I would do that again. It is really like purely. I mean, I really do enjoy that. That's like game design to me. And I don't know what's that.
I'd be interested to see what a thematic game of Kory's would be like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I would too. I think it would end up in the territory of Diver Down as far as like the level, the amount of rules and the level of abstraction. I think it's still going to be relatively abstract because I just don't like games that are much more complicated than Diver Down. So that's essentially, that would be a new thing for me to design a game that is like Diver Down in that, and more thematic to that level at least. Beyond that, what's that?
I remember we had one. I don't know, maybe it's based on theme, but it was about hot air balloons or something.
Yeah, very based on theme.
Yeah. Okay. Was that just a mechanic you were testing, or
Yeah, that was all very similar to my style of design. That was very specifically, that was almost a components. It was about these tiles that had information on both sides, like a color on one side and a number on the other side, and playing with like how to get juice out of that. Like what could I, and that one, actually, that's still in a drawer somewhere because I never was happy with what I came up with. Yeah, but this is the thing, like, so. I mean, Zendo is always the strongest one, like, and there just aren't many of those. Like, as far as starting with a core, going, here's the thing that I want to build a game around. And actually, usually it's just distilling. Usually it's like, what's the simplest possible thing I can do that accentuates this core as much as possible. And so maybe I'm out of ideas, or just haven't had, like I've done it a few times now, and maybe it's just not that as exciting to me anymore, or maybe I just don't have another one that's as strong as Zendo, because now I need a fix. It's like it's got to be as good as the best ones I've done, or it's not very interesting. The thematic, so I'm much more interested in starting with a theme because that's a thing I haven't done. But then that's why I keep asking all these questions of what is important to me, what am I doing, why am I trying to even do this, because I don't know what theme to start with, I don't know where I'm going with that. Like, so maybe it's just not, I don't know. Or maybe the themes are just too generic that it's like I love treasure hunting, but that's a pretty generic theme. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin.
Why don't you start with Indiana Jones?
Or go even more specific. Go super specific. Look, open a dictionary and point to a word.
Yeah.
mushroom and say, okay, it's about mushrooms and this, and make a game based on that, and that's, as an exercise anyway. It's just a
it's a good idea. Well, it's interesting how much that it's like you say specific, and that word could be viewed as the opposite of abstract, right? Concrete versus abstract, and I'm a very abstract thinker. Like to the extent that I'm not even that interested in life in very specific things, like. If people are like it takes a little effort before I get interested in people talking about their very specific like caving experiences or like whatever, their very specific hobbies or something like that. My eyes tend to glaze over a little bit. It's like
how long have you been a sociopath?
What's that?
How long have you been a sociopath? Has it been?
This keeps coming up. What?
You're in California, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know.
He's on our Wi-Fi.
The signal's awfully good.
I mean, John Cooper, who unfortunately I wasn't here. I tried to talk him into showing up with us tonight, and we've talked about sociopath. The last 2 days, the topic of sociopathy has come up a couple different times in our conversations.
No, that's your theme.
Yeah, but why is? I mean, come on, we're all joking here, right? I mean, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad, right, guys?
Learning how to feel.
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right.
But I don't know what the abstraction thing is all about.
What does
really.
John say? Pretty thematic. Well, some of the prototypes I played of his were pretty thematic. Farting on an elevator and on this other game. Like,
right.
I mean, but what does he say about this? Can we put words in his mouth since he's not here? Does he have ideas on this?
I can't put words in his mouth because I haven't talked to him about this topic a whole lot.
So a lot of those guys, well, I remember, meeting all those guys in Maryland in that area. They seem to have that very thematic way of taking these games, like these social games where you're a spy and you have to, you sort of talk normally and then you figure out who's the spy. I don't remember the name of that game. Whose is that? Do you remember?
Is that Jake's the finger pointing game?
Yeah, and you're just talking normally, and then suddenly you point, who's. And you can just, I think those are very thematic games. I mean, I knew that was like your old gaming group there that you designed.
Yeah, these topics are confusing to me because I wouldn't have called us a very thematic. I think Dave Chalker is the one in the group who is the most. I mean, is interested in. He plays role-playing games and which I think are more thematic. See, it's hard for me to judge. I have a blind spot.
Okay. Isn't he the designer of Heat on Kickstarter?
He is.
Is there a link below?
There's a link below for that Kickstarter. It has only a few more days left on it, I believe. I don't know how far along they are. They were getting there.
Yeah, I hope it works. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
Story.
But yeah, I don't know.
Thematic? Or?
What's that?
You don't think that group was very thematic? Your old design. I'm not saying the old that design group from that area.
Well,
it seems to me those games are very thematic, where you have to deduce who's the spy, because it's real. I mean, it's almost to your question. You are solving the problem by just looking at the people.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. That's why it doesn't like. I don't know that it started with a spy theme. It started with it's more like this Zendo style theme of let's make a game. It's not we're not pretending that we're trying to find out who the other person is. We actually are trying to find out who that other person is. And then it's like the spy theme fit. I don't actually remember on that game how early the spy theme. I mean, it's such a natural theme for that kind of game. So it probably came pretty early. But I don't know how much it actually steered the mechanics. I mean, for sure, I'm still the most abstract lover of that group, and so maybe they're maybe yeah. I'm
Not
an
even quite
abstract.
sure what it means. But you need to put that in your online dating profile.
I'm an
abstract lover.
Yes.
What?
An abstract
What?
lover.
And it's appropriately confusing. When
Yeah.
somebody
I'll pleasure you in all
Yeah.
sorts of abstract ways.
Yes, that's right.
In all sorts of grid-like fashions.
That's right. That's right.
Left, right, up, down.
Yep. Yeah. So
Tonight I'm going to give you 4 restrictions on how we're making love.
Don't place it there.
Nope,
Place
nope,
it-
nope.
Off bounds.
That one's nope.
yeah.
Only on the left side or in the middle, so the intersection there is okay. Right.
Well, as long as I just see this is why I don't like a lot of rules. I don't.
Right.
It needs to be a pretty elegant system. You know.
You don't like King Bigger?
Right.
So, well, go back to earlier then. Why do you like any rules? That was the entire question.
Why do I like any rules? Because I'm fascinated with the emergent properties of rules, the things that emerge, and those are the things that are not created, right? It's like when the emergent properties of rules are the things that they're created by math, essentially. Those are the things that feel like the discoveries in game design. It's like, yeah, we can come up with we have the freedom to create whatever rules we want, and then those rules have consequences, and then we explore them. We don't create those consequences, and that's fascinating to me. So it feels like I'm exploring an objective reality there, like or I'm at least interacting with something beyond myself, you know.
You are a god.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds very Conway.
Sure.
Oh. Conway life simulations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Apply like rules and see what shapes come out of that.
Yeah. That's a lot of my interest in game design, in abstract game design, at least.
All right, then what is your interest in thematic game design?
Yeah, yep, that's more about feelings. Just comes to mind. It feels tied to childhood, like imagination. Like whenever I think about these things, it feels tied to how I felt about fiction back then and movies, and I always go back to Indiana Jones because that was such a big.
I suggested Indiana Jones as a topic, starting point.
Yeah.
Because you have such strong feelings about it, when even if they're just reminiscent feelings, right?
Yeah.
You know what you felt like when you saw that, and I'm sure those at least get stirred still when you watch it again, right?
They do.
So you know that feeling that you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah. So maybe it really is. It's like a kind of laziness. It's so hard. Like it's almost like I've been afraid. I've always been afraid to even go there because I don't know where to go from that feeling,
Well, but you have. How would you do this if you were a writer?
Yeah.
You've written stuff.
Oh man, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, writing is so hard. Writing is harder than game design.
Programming. You got to program subscripts, so just start writing things. What if I was, or it depends what you want. If I was Indiana Jones, what do I want it to be? And just say, okay, I'm gonna find treasure. Okay, so I gotta find treasure, or I wanna swing from things or things like that. And put the elements in And some things that don't make sense, just take them out or just put them in and see if they work or whatever. But it is going to be a very I think thematic design is almost more iterative than
I think it must be.
You have to remove things, but also change the mechanics every time as well. You're not just changing the mechanics; you're changing the theme, which changes the mechanics.
Yep.
Like I see Greg Daigle, his are so intertwined. I think his games are very thematic, like super thematic, but he's got the mechanics so intertwined. I just don't know how he does it. He's very good at this kind of stuff. And then he just the next play test of it, it's changed, and he's able to. He just goes into here, and it's like it's just amazing. I wonder how your mind works that you can do that, but it's like the theme and the mechanics are so tied together. I can play a game of his prototype and just go on gut feeling. Okay, if I was a traveling player, what would I do? And then I could just go and he'll give me the actions. And it's like, well, what if I want to do this? Oh, you do this, and it's pretty much any action. It's almost like a role-playing game in a box. It's. It seems like that, but there is rules around everything.
Right. Yeah. Usually too many for me. That's a problem. It's like getting through this. It all feels so hodgepodgey. Not Greg's games in particular, but that whole style. And it's almost like James and I were talking about disappointment. And the thing about these abstract games is because of what they're shooting for and what I know I'm going to get, those games are capable of not disappointing me. It's like if I look at a game like Zendo, if somebody else had designed Zendo, I think I might be really satisfied with it. I go, I see the target that it was aiming for, and it hit it. Whereas like the games that are about feeling, these thematic things, they almost never hit the target for me. Like they never quite work. Like I always feel like this Raiders of the Lost Ark idea. I feel like I'm bracing for disappointment already. Like where I'm trying to do the impossible. Like capture that.
So do the impossible.
Yeah, that's all. You're right.
I don't think I'm asking for too much here.
Big whoop. A lot of times I feel like if you try and get everything in there, it's too much.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Certain things out. So you're right there. You're limited by, okay, well, I didn't get to do that, so it's not quite as thematic as I was hoping for. But I mean, it just turns into too big of a game if you.
Sure. So then, the playtesting process, as you go along, you start picking a focus. Maybe you start seeing where your interest really lies. Yeah.
What was fun for the playtesters, really.
Which may not align with what you think is fun for that team. So that may be why you're disappointed.
Well, I've also, I said it goes back to childhood, and I mean, for years, actually, I've been saying how I feel like I've lost something since like, this is much bigger than games now. It's that I've sort of lost a bit of the childhood sense of wonder that I had, like Star Wars and Raiders and E.T. and other things in that era did these things for me. And I find that it's harder to recapture that now in my life through games or anything else. What's that?
What?
We're talking about E.T. and how Reese's Pieces were.
I was disparaging E.T. and not paying any attention to what you were saying.
No, that's interesting. Now I understand disparaging E.T., but
you don't understand not paying attention to what you're saying?
No. It's a good point. E.T. is cheesy, but it's also really about that movie is really about the loss of childhood wonder. That is the theme of that movie.
That is the theme of that movie.
Yep. It's about E.T. is a symbol of your childhood sense of wonder that dies around that age. It starts dying and being replaced by the world of adults with shiny keys and that work for NASA and stuff like that. And about like the attempt to not let that thing die completely. Yeah, it's kind of a cheesy take on it all, but I don't know. So
I don't know.
yeah,
I'd not put it in the same class as those other two movies.
yeah, I can understand that. It's not as high on my list for sure.
So, are you saying you wish you could recapture that, but you know you can't? Is that part of what you're saying?
Almost. I wish I could recapture it, and I don't know if I can. It's hard. It's harder now than it used to be.
Game is harder.
So,
What's that?
Yeah,
And recapturing it in a board game is even harder.
Exactly. Yeah.
but you've got these other things.
These other what?
Other things. So when you lose that, you also gain other things. You gain this appreciation for adult things that you can't possibly have when you're a child.
Yes.
I think I've stopped saying anything about games, maybe. I'm not sure yet.
You mean like Jesse?
Yeah. Actually, as an example. That would be one example.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I have some problems there as well, right?
Why don't you tell us about that? So I can see this. What would happen if you wrote Indiana Jones now?
The movie, like the
yes.
script.
Correct.
No, man, that would be an existential nightmare.
Do you understand where my question is coming from, though? Would you be trying to capture the same spirit that it actually ended up having, or would you be trying to capture something more adult? Or is it already more adult than we're actually admitting?
Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got actual peril. We've got people's faces being melted off.
I mean,
and stuff.
it's based on like the serials from the freaking 40s or 30s.
Yep. But it went another step beyond, right? So if you were to make, say anybody made Indiana Jones now.
Well, they tried
say
to.
They remade it.
The fourth one was kind of done in today's age, and it didn't go over nearly as
That was
well.
horrible. There is no fourth one, is there?
I don't know. There's just three.
Yeah.
We're pretty much agreed. There are only three.
Oh, okay.
There are only three.
Yeah, we think.
It's like there was only one Highlander movie.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Absolutely correct. There really was only one.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Anyway, what was my point? My point was,
what was your point?
Is that really something that you want to recapture, even outside of game design? Just so you've got this melancholy that stems from this something that you believe you lost a long time ago. Is that right?
Or I mean, it gradually faded, and it's still there, but it's harder. It's harder for
it's still there.
Yeah. It's hard. But it's harder to recapture it. Those kinds of feelings.
There's three.
So what now tickles that? What now sparks that? Makes that ember glow brighter again? What things these days? Because you said it's still there. So what is it that's sparking that?
Yeah.
Successfully.
Video games are the closest thing to that.
Yeah, video games, and the same types of video games as did when you were a child?
Oh, maybe not. Although there's crossover. Yeah, it's funny. I just tweeted a day or two ago about Heart of Africa, which is a game by Danny Bunton, and she made Mule. She was one of the designers of Mule, which is also one of my all-time favorite games.
All those games.
Little EA games.
Heart of Africa. Yep, early Electronic Arts game. And it was I was commenting on the fact that it's an early roguelike, what we're now calling roguelike likes. I mean, it's you know, it's like FTL in a couple of ways, or these other, you know, it's one of the earlier examples of this style of game. And yeah, it totally gave me these feelings back then. And so FTL gave me some of those feelings now. Yeah, movies are basically not. That's the thing we've talked about a bunch, and I miss that.
Have you played things like Dwarven Fortress? Is like super detailed.
Yeah, again, it's so many rules. This is a hindrance for me. I really want to like that. I would like to experience that, but I don't know what
the best way to experience it is just read other people's experiences of it, and then you're just like, oh, that's awesome. That guy did that. He experienced all this cool fun.
Yeah.
I like reading other people's experiences more than actually playing the game.
Yep. I've enjoyed hearing about it, and I always feel like I might buckle down and really try to get over the initial hurdles, and maybe get some enjoyment out of it. But yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. James, I don't know if I've answered that question.
Well, I'm trying to figure out if there is a likely way for you to be satisfied.
Yeah.
Right, to capture a more adult flavor of that sense of wonder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question.
Or a more mature flavor, maybe, is a way to put it.
I mean, I don't know if FTL is any more mature or adult, but I mean that's why I'm interested in that type of game, because it at least awakened some of these feelings in me, and so I'd like to make something like that, you know.
So did you ever? What kinds of did you ever have this similar sense from any board games?
No.
When you were younger, from movies, nowadays from video games, but
never from the thought of board game, and I got it from video games a lot more, you know. I used to imagine what Dungeons and Dragons would be like, but I didn't actually play it.
Probably imagine better than it actually is.
Yeah, that's my experience now.
It kind of depends on how you play it, but yeah.
Yeah, I still think I would probably more enjoy the systemless game with a really good game master. That's what I was picturing back then.
I think those things, the memories are. It's like a lot of things. The memories are better than the actual experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, you have it, and then it's like, but then it's better. It's like watching a sort of stupid, funny movie. You watch it, it's not that funny, but when you think about back to it and you share the experiences, then it's better. Sharing the experiences better than actual playing, or playing D&D. Sometimes you do it, and it's always angry and emotional, and you're not really appreciating it. But then, 10 years later, you remember playing Dungeons and Dragons, and you're sitting in the basement as a kid, and eating cheesies and drinking orange pop and rolling dice, and you're like, oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because you made memories with friends and stuff like that.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, when I think back to the time when we were playing LCR, and I rolled LLL.
Yeah.
It was right there on the display of the dildo or whatever the thing is. Yeah, and I pushed the reservoir tip.
We have the history.
Man.
That's so great.
Kory, you won. You won.
Oh, I won.
The game. So
awesome.
We have the copy of the game. I'll mail this out to you. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was
they're worth 90 cents. And,
yeah, I was a shoo-in to win. I'm much better than you guys are at it, I think.
Yeah.
It's all
We'd have
experience.
to be up for a while before we could compete with you.
Well, I've been practicing. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we, actually, yeah, we don't have to keep, trying to figure out my crazy brain, but actually, this topic is very interesting to me. This whole childhood sense of wonder thing, and how I might be trying to recapture that with games, or wish I could and feel like I really can't, or something. That's,
Do you have any toys in your house? Do you have anything that childhood would say that's a kid's thing in your apartment or anything, other than a computer?
I kind of don't, but I really don't have much of anything.
We noticed you're so poor you can't afford doors on your closet.
Nope. Can't. No, yeah, I mean, I had them, but I pawned them.
Anybody want to buy some closet doors?
Yep.
California
closet.
Yeah, I had this gigantic square overcoat. You want to buy a door?
And you unfold them.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm just commenting on that. It's a little bit late there. I don't know what your schedules are for this for the Roundhouse event, but
I think it's Thursday.
We can wrap it up. We can wrap it up anytime you guys want to go to bed, or
it's late here. It's 1:30.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
All pretty tired.
Yep.
At least we got everything solved again.
Exactly. I think
you've been made whole again, at least for a week.
Yep. Now, since we veered off into the much simpler problem of the death of childhood wonder.
Yes, Freudian psychology. So next week I'll patch you back up again. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. It's going to be a long week, but we'll.
Regarding that childhood wonder thing, go to the Strong Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. I visited
it's
it.
Kind of the opposite end of the country for him, right?
I know. Like, if we get a chance to get out there.
Well, be. I can take a road trip, which is.
I'll come to the gathering next year. I'll be going back to the Strong Museum again because it was.
What's it called? The
Strong National Museum of Play.
Okay, that sounds great.
Online. And it's a museum dedicated to games and play.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of just fun
big toy museum
activities for kids and stuff, and it's about play and learning through play, and they have displays of board games and card games throughout the ages, and role-playing games and stuff, and they've got an arcade, and when I went there at the gathering this year, it was just I was almost kind of rediscovering that childhood feeling, because I went out and played with the kids. They've just got there's these spinning xylophone things you can just bang on and make noise, and there's those you've seen those ball tracks. It's wires with marbles that run around.
Yeah.
They have ones in the room, and they run basketballs down them, and this enormous room is filled with these things. It's just you go and play, and you reconnect with that childhood wonder feeling. It was really awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Well, I mean, you do. It's not gonna knock through my gigantic concrete wall, but
and
sounds great.
You can babysitting for me too, because I'm not that far away, so you can take care of my kid.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh well.
It will. It might.
It's a great. I do want to. I'd like to check that kind of place out. That would be fun. But yeah, I mean, thanks a lot for hanging out, you guys. This I like crashing the party.
Well, I'm sad you're not here because we're just gonna go into I think it's tickle fight next.
Yeah.
Oh, tickle fight.
I really appreciate the tickle fight.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's what you're missing.
Yeah, I always know my.
The cat that's missing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's probably better than I'm missing Dogpile Night. 'Cause, in that group, it's likely to kill me.
One of us is not leaving here alive.
Yep. But
Yeah.
But yeah.
Jeff always plays with the fumigation variant.
Jeff's taint variant.
Awesome.
That's right.
I'll talk about my taint.
All right.
All right, taint on, everybody.
Taint nothing.
Yeah, right on. So
I'll see you next week.
we're doing it next week. All right, and you guys,
We're the only ones that watch it, so
Yeah.
we'll be watching it next week.
Yep, that's great.
We're the viewers.
Yep. All right, yeah. Thanks for watching, you guys. It's awesome, and we'll I'll look forward to hearing reports about how the rest of the event went for you guys and what stuff you played and whatnot. So
More eating.
yeah, yeah.
More eating and a little napping. And I'll tell you about Crazy Hawk too.
Okay.
That's the puzzle. That's the puzzle this episode.
The puzzle this episode. What do they mean by what do they
What
mean?
is Crazy Hawk?
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy Hawk. What is Crazy Hawk? All right. Oh yeah. Did we answer any puzzle from last time?
Oh, who was going to be here, or who would they expect? That was the puzzle from last.
We answered it.
So we answered it right at the top.
Yep. All right. All right, everybody. We will see you next week.
See you, Kory.
All right,
Later.
you guys. See you guys later.